talk now. This MMA, what we talking about? Yeah, you tuned into the pod now. Gonna be hard for you to stop now. Yeah, we caged in. Yeah, we caged in. Yeah, we caged in.
Welcome back to another episode of Caged In. I'm your host, DiCarlo. Today we got a very special guest making his debut on the show. It's Josh Medeiros. How we doing today, brother?
Good, man.
Hey, man, I appreciate you coming on. I know you got a big fight coming up next Friday night, Combat FC6, going down in Wilmington, Massachusetts, where you're taking on Adrian Haly, who is 2-3 as a professional. This is your first time on the show, so typically, first-time guests, I like to get their background a little bit, get to know them a little bit better before we start diving into the fight. So let's start it off, from the beginning, man. Where were you born and raised, and what was growing up kind of like for you?
I was born in Massachusetts, but I grew up on the border in New Hampshire, Pelham, New Hampshire. Spent my whole childhood and most of my adult life there. Just grew up like a regular kid, playing every sport there was. Then I got into wrestling, taking that seriously around middle school, and yeah.
There you go. I've heard that you are, a very accomplished wrestler in your wrestling days back in high school. So can you just talk about that period of your life? Like, how important was wrestling to you back then? And then talk about maybe some of your accomplishments and your accolades, if you could.
Yeah, wrestling definitely shaped me to the person I am today. I owe like a lot to that sport. I'm sure a lot of other wrestlers will say the same thing.
Mm.
But yeah, at the young age, I really zoned in on it and sacrificed a lot, committed to it. I was able to win 4 state titles, freshman through senior year. I battled my junior and senior year. I was battling injuries, so I didn't get to go as far as I'd like to, which is kind of like why I jumped back into the mix, because I feel like I had more to show,
Mm.
I didn't wrestle in college because of those injuries. I was just kind of had enough.
Right.
But yeah.
And then how did, that wrestling background kind of transition into MMA? What's the story behind, how you initially got started in MMA and just kind of that story there?
So one of my best friends, who I wrestled with, he was trying to convince me to start training MMA for like years.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of other people asked me to too, but I just kind of focused on like my life and my career. And I don't want to get hurt because I do construction
Right.
for a living. And so then I ended up going to Thailand with this friend of mine, and we were doing Muy Thai out there. And I just was like, all right, let's go. Got right back into it. And I just since then I haven't stopped training. It was just like wrestling. Like I was locked in day one. This is what I want to do.
Yeah, man, that's, if there's any way to, get introduced to MMA as a sport, Thailand, the roots of Muay Thai
Yeah,
is quite the way to, get started in it for sure. And of course, couple that with your wrestling background and everything else kind of falls into place.
for sure.
For the people that haven't seen you fight before, man, how would you describe your fight style to them?
I would say my style is definitely aggressive. I like to make my opponent fight my fight and react to what I'm doing. I don't waste any time getting after it.
Yeah, man, I've seen.
But my
Go
yeah,
ahead.
but
Go ahead.
my style is still like constantly evolving though. That being said, because I've only had one pro fight, so I just every every fight I get so much better and more evolved that I kind of still am figuring out my style.
For sure, man. I mean, you are new to the pro game, like you said, 1-0 as a pro. In the past fights that I've seen of yours, you're a very exciting fighter. You're definitely high pace, high energy all the time, which is lends itself to being, a favorite fighter of the fans that watch you perform. So that was something that I
Yeah,
noticed when I watched your game for sure.
yeah, yeah. I definitely never been in a born fight and don't plan on that starting up, because I bring it every time, and I have I'm thankful for all the fans I have, and I keep gaining more and more fans because of that reason. My fights are exciting, and yeah, I love putting it on for 'em.
Yeah, man. Like I said before we started, man, I will be in the building for your next one, so I'm very excited to see you perform for the first time live. Let's get into your fight history a little bit. I know you are, like we just said, 1-0 as a pro. You were 3-1
Yeah.
as an amateur, and you held that Combat Zone flyweight amateur championship before turning pro. Looking back on your amateur career, do you have a favorite memory or a favorite time back in that season of your career?
In the amateur career,
Yeah.
um, probably just the last amateur fight because I feel like I was starting to put it together with the striking, like and mixing up the grappling. Like the first few fights of mine, it was really just like tunnel vision, like get this motherfucker.
All right.
I didn't even like think like it started to slow down for me in my last amateur fight, and I was like getting in the groove.
For sure. And
Yeah.
you made your pro debut back in June 2023. What went into that decision for you to turn pro, and why was June like the correct time for you to make that turn?
Well, I broke my arm in that last amateur fight I had in the title fight,
Hmm.
so I couldn't fight for. It wasn't like fully recovered for another 7 months, and I think my fight was made 7 months to when I broke my arm. So
Right.
that's what influenced that decision. And I wasn't gonna fight another amateur fight just because um I didn't really I already was having trouble finding opponents. I didn't have that many amateur fights and I was having trouble finding opponents, and it's kind of still the case a little bit. But yeah, I was just ready to make the jump and go for it. That's
Yeah.
a kind of person I am, like all in, you know.
Yeah, for sure, man. 100%. That pro debut that we just spoke about back in June came at Combat Zone 80 versus David Michael Doral. You end up winning that one by TKO at the end of round two. Can you kind of walk me through that fight and then talk about, that massive knee that led to the eventual TKO there?
Um, yeah. So the beginning of that fight, I was going to that fight. I was a little worried about being on the ground, which I'm not usually. I'm pretty comfortable on the ground. I know he had pretty decent jujitsu, but I was confident in my striking. I knew I was faster than him, and I knew I hit harder than him. Um, he might have been a little more technical on the feet than I was at the time, but I knew I was gonna have him there. And yeah, I just had him react like the whole fight. He was just like he was reacting to what I was doing. I was catching him. I was causing damage. I almost finished him in the beginning of the first round, and then like halfway through the first round, I almost finished him again. Um, which then and then the second round, I was just kept coming after him. Like he was pretty tough. Like he's a professional. That kid.
Hmm.
Um, he was taking it, and then he started catching me a couple of times at the end of this. It was at the very end of the second round. He started catching me a couple of times. Nothing serious, but he was starting to like gain some momentum.
Hmm.
And then his corner was yelling, takedown, takedown, takedown to him. And I just like right when he level changed, I just threw that knee like right up the middle and dink.
Hmm.
And he was out from that knee, and then the ref just let me keep hitting him. But yeah, that was a great finish to my first pro fight.
Yeah, I mean, TKO finish there, like you mentioned, a big knee that led to that fight-ending sequence. I mean, no better way to start off your pro career than a win like that one. But we haven't
Yeah.
seen you since then. That was June 2023. It's been roughly like 7 months coming into your next one. I know you did have a fight scheduled at Combat FC 5 versus John Medina, but that one obviously didn't end up happening. What kind of happened
Yeah.
there, and why did that one not end up happening like it was scheduled to?
I couldn't tell you why that didn't end up happening. I like he ended up fighting. He fought a month later at CES, so he wasn't injured or anything. I think he just thought he had an easier fight, and that kid didn't even have any amateur fights. He was just coming off the street, and like he fought once before that,
Right.
and then he ended up fighting it again. But I don't know why he pulled out of that, and that was a kick in the balls. All the tickets I sold, how hard I trained for that fight, and then me having to wait another whatever amount
Mm.
of months to fight. So that was unfortunate,
Yeah,
but
man.
yeah. Well, it is what it is, and I'm ready for this one. I think it'll maybe be a blessing in disguise because had a longer training camp for this fight.
Sure, and then you can take,
You
all
know,
that energy and that frustration that you had, pent up,
right?
and you can let it out
Channel it.
here on February 9th, man, 100%. Let's talk
Oh
about
yeah.
your training camp a little bit, man. I know you do train over at KT Academy in Nashua, New Hampshire. Can you describe, the vibe of that gym for people that might not be familiar?
Um, that gym it's a relatively new gym. They've been open for a few years, but they they've done so much in such a short period of time. Walter Cotito and Joey Gomez. There's just like so much energy at the place, and it's a team. It's a team vibe. Like everyone comes together, and it's not like everyone's like individualized, like their training and stuff. So it's just like overall good, a lot better vibe than other gyms I've been to and experienced. And they're doing something special over there for
Nice, man.
sure.
I know you guys are kind of
Yeah,
building a solid little fight team over there. Who are some of the other guys in the
yeah.
building that you got over there?
We got Mike Joliker. We got a couple really good jujitsu guys. Tyree Durham, Joe Peters, Jake Ferry's coming up. John McNeil. We got we got a good amount of kids.
For sure, man. That's good to
Uh,
hear.
we
That's good to hear.
we got Jeff Reynolds. They're Jeff Reynolds, John McNeil, and Jake Ferry all fighting this Friday at
Nice, man. So,
NEF. Yeah,
so everybody's been kind of just getting ready together at the same time. You guys all kind of got
yeah.
fights coming up, so that must be some solid energy you guys got going over there.
That's the thing is they're always busy. Like someone's always fighting, so it's always like we're getting motivating each other and getting after it. There's no lull. There's no lull in the training.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I think that's important to have for just the energy in general and inside the building for sure.
Yep.
Let's talk about, that trip that you took over in Thailand, man. You mentioned at the top of the show. Just real quickly, man, what did you learn the most in that trip?
What I learned most in that trip, I learned don't don't drink and drive scooters.
I mean,
But
probably
no,
the best lesson, man. Do you have a crazy story
no,
about that, or that led to that lesson there?
I I don't know. I rented a scooter and smashed it up, but I fixed it in time to give it back to the people, or just in time for me to jump on the plane. But
Right.
no, learning from there is like they had a very like um respectful culture, and uh they're so welcoming, good people, and it was good to see like we a lot of us who live in the United States think it's like the center of the universe, and
Hmm.
like this is the only place. It's like I don't know. I got out of that mindset when I went there, and it changed, opened my opened my mind up to like other stuff. Going there, it was a great experience.
For sure, man. Definitely a once in a lifetime type of trip.
Yeah,
Especially since it ended up changing your life in multiple ways. It kind of opened your mind
right.
up to the world just being a bigger place than what you thought it was being in the States, and then also, reinvigorating
Yeah,
that love for combat sports and getting you back into competing, man.
most definitely.
It's definitely seems like a trip that's meant a lot to you, which is awesome to hear.
Yeah,
Coming into this fight though, Combat FC 6 going down February 9th. Who are some of the guys that we're going to see in your corner that night?
I'm gonna see Walter Cotito and Joey Gomez in my corner. UFC and Bellator vets. They've been with me for every single one of my fights, besides one amateur fight, and yeah, that's my team right there.
There you go, man. Definitely a good group of
Yeah,
guys to have with you going into fight night for sure. So let's talk about that night, man. Combat FC 6, February 9th, going down Wilmington, Massachusetts, where you're taking on Adrian Haly, who is 2-3 as a pro. What do you know about your opponent, and then how do you feel about his game?
um, I feel like he's got a very lax style. He's got pretty decent. He's pretty well rounded all around. He's definitely very experienced. Um, I anticipate this being my toughest fight yet. Um, I think it's going to be a lot like any most of my other fights. I'm giving up the reach advantage and the experience advantage, so it's nothing I'm not accustomed to. Um, but yeah, I I anticipate this kid bringing it.
For
So
sure.
am I.
yeah, looking at the style between you and Haley, I'm anticipating this one to be a very exciting fight. Like you mentioned earlier, you've never been in a boring fight, and looking at what Haley's done inside the cage as well, seems like both of you guys come in with very entertaining and high-paced styles. I think this is going to be a banger for the fans inside the arena for sure. When you look at the fight stylistically, though, where do you see yourself kind of having the advantage versus him?
I see myself in the advantage of the speed and the strength, and I think the grappling definitely for sure. Clinch.
For sure, man. And then
Yeah,
Adrian Haly as a pro, man, he's fought, you said that you kind of give up the experience advantage here. He has fought a ton of very experienced guys, a very tough pro career that he's had under his belt so far. But do you expect yourself to be the toughest test that he's seen to date?
yeah, I think so. I mean, a lot of people might not think that because he's fought guys on the Contender Series or whatever, but people haven't seen too much of me, so they don't know how good I am, what I'm capable of yet. So that's what I think what makes me dangerous.
100%, man. And we're all very excited to see that performance next Friday night. What can the fans over at Shriners Auditorium expect from Josh Medeiros once those cage doors lock on February 9th, man?
I can expect a war from War Boy. I'm coming out guns blazing for sure. I don't hold anything back. You can expect that.
Perfect, man. I know, it is kind of been slim pickings for you in the 125-pound division, because I know as a pro, you want to be a flyweight. This will be your second fight in a row as a pro at 130-pound catchweight. The rest of 2024, man, are you looking to be able to nail some fights down at 125 and officially, make that weight and put your stamp on the flyweight division here in New England?
Most definitely.
And
And
is there,
I plan on having a busy 2024
for
as
sure.
well.
Yeah, man, 100%. And not to overlook anybody, but there's a few good 25ers in this region. There's a good handful of guys here. Is there
Definitely.
anybody in particular that you have your eye on for someone that you want to get in and mix it up with at some point in 2024?
I would mention a name, but there's like 5 guys I could fight.
Mhm.
Either any of them. So I just gotta take care of the business next Friday, and then we'll go from there.
There you go. Exactly, man. Take care of business Friday, turn 2-0. And then after that, I think a lot of doors will be open for you. And I think you'll have a chance to get in there and mix it up with some of those guys on the region for sure. 2023 is in the past now. The book is closed on 2023. We're looking forward to this new year of 2024. Do you have any goals set for yourself that you want to accomplish this year?
I'd definitely like to be 4-0, 4-0, like 5-0 at the end of 2024. So it's gonna take it one fight at a time and just make it happen. Keep doing what I'm doing.
There you go, man. Keep taking those fights, keep putting some wins together, and then all the doors will be open for you at your disposal, and it's up to you what you do with it at that point, man. Josh, I appreciate the time, brother. Before I get you out of here, anybody you want to thank? Where can the people come find you on social media? And then, of course, promo that fight that you got going down Friday night, man.
Yeah, I'd like to give a shout out to my gym, KTA Academy. And also you can follow me at Medeiros.125 on Instagram.
There you go, man. Josh,
Thank
I
you.
appreciate the time, man. Big one going down February 9th, Combat FC 6, where you're taking on Adrian Haly. I will be in the building there to see it myself. Anybody that's not there, make sure you get your tickets because this one's going to be a banger. Josh, again, man, thank you for the time. Very excited to see you perform live for the first time, and best of luck to you.
See you then, man.
Got down for the count and he can't even talk now. This MMA, what we talking about? Yeah, you tuned into the pod now. Gonna be hard for you to stop now. Yeah, we caged in. Yeah, we caged in. Yeah, we caged in.